tell me a little bit more about kind of the psychedelic aspect, the plant medicines, the psychotherapy, the kind of passion for mental health, and the kind of curiosity around consciousness. Call it what you want. Tell me a little bit more about how that comes into your life in a significant way.
Yeah, it came in shortly after, probably the last day I was, I guess I'm always Jewish, but it happened around my bar mitzvah. I remember going through this ritual and just not, full appreciation for the tradition and all world religions for the most part. But I was like, the rhetoric of this stuff talks about spirituality and mysticism and, started even back then reading Kabbalah texts and the Merkaba mystics. But for whatever reason, just never met a qualified teacher in that tradition. So somewhere around 13, 14, after the pomp and circumstance of this ritual, becoming a man, I started to look for deeper reason, deeper meaning, greater purpose, Telemachus, the idea of telos, and probably found two books in the basement. They're in storage. One was Baba Ram Dass's, Richard Alpert's The Only Dance There Is, which is a little more obscure, and another paper written by John C. Lilly, who's a great, great scientist and researcher who did a lot with altered states of consciousness. It's now a pretty old movie, but the movie Altered States, starring William Hurt, I think it won some award, probably in the early 80s. It was that was John C. Lilly, who introduced sensory deprivation and float tanks and interspecies communications to do a lot of ketamine and LSD with dolphins. So anyway, I just stumbled upon these two pieces of literature, and I was like, what the hell is this? I hadn't read anything, nothing in my, leading up to the bar mitzvah provided any inkling that these other states of consciousness or happiness were remotely within reach. So yeah, those high school years were really, formative, and kind of, maybe that is why, now I can connect the dots from those days in high school with the early experimentation around meditation, a lot of molecules, being able to study with great teachers from, notable folks like Robert Masters and Gene Houston, who wrote the book Varieties of Psychedelic Experiences, to great Tibetan masters, to you name it. There was something around 13 or 14. It's there's got to be more to humanity. And of course, there was all, when we talk about mental health right now, it's all tied to something happening, whether it's psychologically or neurochemically or spiritually, whatever label you want. That was my kind of door opening to, also practicing compassion to some extent, which has led into where I'm at right now. I remember being at an Ibogaine conference about 7 years ago, and met with a clinic, and the guys were heart students of a great Tibetan master. And I'm like, why did you decide to do this? Ibogaine being a psychedelic that, or in the psychedelic family, I should say. Some have debates whether it's a psychedelic, but a natural plant medicine that really helps with addiction and certainly helps with detox and withdrawal, whether it's opioids, heroin, oxys, you name it. And I go, why'd you do this? And it was like, what could be a greater act of compassion than helping addicts? And I was just like, yeah, you can sit on your cushion and meditate and say these prayers, or you can actually do the work in the world. So as that was always much, very much a big part of my path of, bodhicitta and helping others and just reflecting. Like I'm happiest when and I think this is true of a lot of humanity, when you're helping somebody else. It's just something happens neurochemically there.